Welcome back to Around the Block Volleyball. Week 2 of the women's VNL was absolutely crazy. Top teams were dropping matches left and right, but somehow Team USA came out on top. And after all of the concerns that we had last week, we definitely need to talk about it. So, of course, we're going to talk about the US first, where we did go 4-0 this week. We only dropped one set the entire week. We looked good.
Yeah, it was a dominant week. And of course, you could talk about the strength of the schedule and all that. But again, they played who they had to play, and they did well. I think you have to give props to that. I know we've been tough on them for, a little bit now, including last year. But this is definitely, I think it's very good steps in the right direction. I think, of course, you can talk about how Jordan Poulter came back, right? That's always a huge thing. But, man, the team definitely looked a lot more cohesive out there. It was really good.
Yep. And just to speak about that strength of schedule a little bit, of course, we went 3-0 versus the Dominican Republic, 3-0 versus Czechia, 3-0 versus Italy, and 3-1 versus Serbia to end out the week. Of course, now for that Italian team, that was not their A team at all.
Yeah.
So, you can't really say too much, especially Antropova didn't play either.
Yeah, you got to take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, it was truly more like a B to C team type for Italy, so of course we'd hope to win that one when we really did bring out all the... Actually, for that match, we didn't bring out the big guns, but
no,
generally this week we brought out the big guns.
Yeah, and again, just talking about the Olympians that we brought back, they finally were playing, right? Of course, it was headlined by the middles that came back in Chako Bogu and Dana Recchi. They both looked really good. Yeah. I was again impressed, and I think something that we can definitely hang our hats on now, and I wasn't sure about it last week, but I'm even more confident now, is the blocking. I think as a team, the blocking has gotten a lot better, and we're doing it consistently now, and we've been doing it against even that Italy team. Of course, it's B or C team, but again, that's still one of the better teams in the world that you have to consider, and the blocking was still really good. And of course, it includes those two middles, but actually they weren't even the ones that played against Italy. Yeah. So again, all four of the middles did really well blocking, and then I think the pins have also been doing a lot better blocking-wise.
Yeah, I think in general, just having those middles coming back kind of brought a sense of maybe reassurance for the block. So I feel like maybe for our pin blocking, there wasn't too much trying to move the hands in a little bit, try and make up for ground, not move too much, set the block just properly. That for the most part, our middles will make it there because, of course, this is high-level volleyball. There will be some times where there will be holes because you got to respect the middles. But I think it just cleaned up our blocking a whole bunch, just having these two back. And then, of course, Asia O'Neal, Molly McCage for the Italian game. That was great from them as well. They are no slouches on the blocking end, so I think that's where we were fine.
Any other big things that stood out to you?
Jordan Poulter coming back was a really, really big thing because it just made everyone feel a lot more comfortable. I think even though she came back, she didn't really have the most perfect connection with every hitter. Even the hitters that she's been with, I think even then, the hitters just had this sense of confidence where even though they tipped the ball, they did something with it, they were tipping it a little bit smarter, a little bit more difficult, and it just worked out a little bit better. Now, of course, maybe you could be like, this is the teams that they played against that made them look this good, but I think just the way that they played felt a little bit better with Jordan Poulter in general. Now, we'll have to see next week because I'm sure she'll be back, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah, and again, we kind of mentioned it earlier about the strength of schedule and stuff like that. But even against that Italy team, and of course it's not the A team, but again, you kind of have to look at just the way that Team USA played, and just on the court, they looked so much better, and it looked a lot more cohesive. And I've kind of heard it through the grapevines from other people that they felt like the women's team just didn't look like they were playing as much as a team before. But this feels like it's in a good step in the right direction. Where, the offense looks like it's getting there, right? I think they are going back towards the BIC, which I thought they ran pretty well last year. Of course, Team USA has kind of been known to be able to run a pretty good back row ball. I think that looked a little bit better this time as well. You have a Avery Skinner, of course, Jordan Poulter setting it, so it makes it a little bit better. I think that was definitely something that was looking really good. I think the slide was also pretty good. Yeah. I think Dana Recchi, Asia O'Neal, kind of everyone can kind of run it. I think the only one that doesn't run it as much is Molly McCage.
And she's fine with it.
And she's still also good with it. So there's a lot of really good things, even when you consider that we probably should have done really well. If not 4-0, it probably should have been a 3-1 against Italy if you consider it. But again, we did what we had to do. And going out 4-0, being at the top, it's really good. It's really nice.
Yeah. The only thing I have to say about the pick is I guess I still felt like there were still a couple like misconnections, but it wasn't as bad as last week where those misconnections really felt like it was impossible to work with. This time it was still like a good amount of tips, which I didn't really like, but
Yeah.
at least the tips went somewhere smart, I guess, instead of being a free ball, which is what I'd call a little different.
Yeah, and I think it felt like, and I'm not sure exactly what happened because we're not in the gym and we don't know what the coaches are saying, but it felt like there was a more conservative effort to, be more aggressive. And, if the swing isn't fully there, you got to put it in a good spot, or you got to swing high hands, put it in a tougher spot that they can't defend it as easily, because I think you kind of felt that at times in week one, and it's been looking better. I like where the offense is going. And honestly, hey, the pins are looking really good too. Yeah. And I think that is what makes it even more difficult, right? And I think the main person we can talk about it's Logan Eggleston. We definitely saw her play a little bit more this time, and she looked good. I think there were times where you could still see that she still has more room to grow, but I think offensively you still know that she has that great arm, and she had a pretty good week. Definitely makes it more interesting.
I think because last week I gave her like a C minus maybe.
Yeah.
I think that is definitely way better. Definitely up more towards like a B or whatever. I didn't really grade them for this week, but if I were to grade them, it'd be a lot more like a B plus, A minus from this week from her because she played so much better. But before we get too much into the players, we have one question that needs answering. Who was your MVP for the U.S. women in week 2 of the VNL?
For me, I had to go Jordan Thompson.
Okay.
Right? And I know you were a lot more difficult on her than I was when we did the grading last week, but she really looked more comfortable out there, and she looked confident. She was swinging aggressively, and it was great to see that. Again, we considered her one of the better right sides in the world, and it felt like it wasn't just talk this time. She really did it, and she was terminal, right? Every time that you felt that the U.S. was kind of getting stuck in the mud a little bit, try and flip that ball back to her on the right side, and she was taking care of business. Super efficient, too.
Yep, absolutely agree. I think she was incredibly terminal. I mean, some of the numbers that she was putting up this week were absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
But and it is a huge contrast from last week where I was very difficult on her. So I do love to see that. Although she was not my MVP.
I wonder if it's the one that I was also thinking about.
Yeah. For me, my MVP was Jordan Poulter because I think the team just looked so different and so much more comfortable with her setting that I had to give it to her, because when all of the hitters who kind of did a little bit more poorly week 1 start to perform really well week 2, and the big thing that changed was the setting, I'd say a lot of this has to go to Jordan Poulter, whether that be her like just pure setting, location, tempo, fits everyone a little bit better, or if it's just something that she has on the court, off the court that makes everyone a little bit more comfortable. Something that she did just helped this U.S. team go right back into looking in form. Where, last week I really didn't think that we looked good.
Yeah, and I think I've heard this from Karch before when he was the head coach for the women's team. He kind of put it in a way that whenever Jordan was out there, Poulter, that they always just found a way to win. And she was able to kind of bring the best out of her teammates and her hitters. I think you could see it on full force right now. And again, this is including players that were not on the Olympic team before, right? You include a Logan Eggleston, Maddie Kubik-Banks, and you say the same for Simone Lee Vonk. I don't think she didn't set
they got a couple sets.
It wasn't as much overlap as the other players. But right, it's not just saying Avery Skinner and Jordan Thompson because they were already on the Olympic team before. But I think you could see it with those other hitters. You could see it with the middles as well. There's a lot of really good things. So I don't hate that. She was my second pick. Yeah. I would say honorable mention does have to go to Logan Eggleston.
For sure.
I was very impressed. And again, she kind of reminded me of this is kind of why you were on that hype train during the League One season, that she is really good and that she can make an impact internationally. I do believe in that. Yeah. And this week too was a great bounce back. She didn't kind of just sink in the moment a little bit. She definitely looked a lot better, and she was still super aggressive. So definitely honorable mention to me.
Yeah, came back with a lot of confidence for Logan Eggleston. I love to see it because, after last week, I was a little bit worried because I did hype her up so much beforehand. But
recently so, though.
Yeah, but now I do think that we are good. I think she just found her groove. She's looking a little bit better. Whether it be Jordan Poulter setting her, or if, it just took 1 week to maybe get the jitters or something out for playing on this international stage. I think she did figure it out, and it looks a lot better. So all big shout-outs to Logan Eggleston. And then I think also to talk back about our middles again and just the connection that they had with Jordan Poulter, I think just having all three of them back together just really, really helped the U.S. team open things up, including for our pins, where
For sure.
it really did feel like, we were really utilizing the middle a lot more, and it was a threat every single time.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any coincidence that the pins end up hitting a lot better efficiency-wise, and you could just see it when you're watching the games. And it's when you bring back the three Olympians that were either the setter or running in the middle of the court, that definitely helps. And again, I still say that part of it is the BIC. I think, again, that is something that helps bring middle pressure into the court, and it makes it a lot easier for your pins to be able to score. I do think that kind of helped out Jordan Thompson. Of course, she can still take care of a double block. She can still swing and score in many, many ways. But, if you can make the game easier for yourselves, why not do it? And I think they definitely were able to do that.
Yeah, made things a lot easier for every single player on the court, honestly. So I do love what I'm seeing from the U.S. this week. And I think maybe moving on to another set of players that we didn't really talk too much about, including last week, and I was a little bit harsh on. We have the liberos again.
Yes.
Morgan Hens and Lexi Rodriguez. They really did settle into that serve-receive libero and then defensive libero, being Morgan Hens, and then Lexi Rodriguez is the serve-receive. I think things did look a lot better for them.
For sure.
A lot less disorganized, and that one I'm just going to give a lot more credit to them as individuals. Maybe it took a week to get accustomed to everything, and maybe it was a little bit of the competition as well, but I do think that they were performing a lot better. They were getting a lot more digs and just serve receiving better, so I think it's good from the both of them to kind of step up to the challenges of playing in the VNL.
Yeah, I do agree. I think there's definitely a lot of positive things you can take from the liberos. I do still have a slight concern. Again, I'm not sure how to gauge the fact that we are doing the two liberos and switching that. I don't know if, to me, that is a little bit concerning of just, are we able to live up to that level of play yet? And again, there's still time before World Champs, of course, next year, and then when we're talking about the Olympics. But to me, I'm not really sure where to go with this, just because they are playing a lot better. To me, I think you have to see it for week 3, week 4.
Yeah.
To me, that's really going to determine how I feel about the libero spot, because I have seen some stuff talking about, oh man, it's Justine Wong-Orantes or it's a bust or whatever. Or because and again, this is Morgan Hens fans and Lexi Rodriguez fans. They're either super high on them or you don't like the other libero, right? I think that's just how the fandom works for these two. And I think there is a gray area that we're kind of sitting in right now where there's moments that they both look really good. But again, we still haven't really found any moments where one of them has swept us away. And of course, we mentioned it last week, Elena Scott was not going to be available for this VNL either. So I think it still remains the question of what is going to happen with this libero spot. Of course, we can definitely still do this 2 liberos and switch it if Justine doesn't come back. So not really sure, but it's kind of up in the air to me.
Yeah, I also do want to put out just a note that although I do think that they're looking better, I don't think that they're really either looking world-class still, per se.
No, and it's hard to say that. I mean, you have to be very good.
Yeah, they're also still up against some really, really good liberos, even on the other side of the net this week, where we do think that they played against generally easier competition. I do think that the liberos that we played against were still performing really well and made our own liberos look a little bit shakier at times, but I think just relative to the week before that, our liberos were doing great. And shout out to NRB Sun from last week in the comment section. They did mention that Morgan Hens was sometimes playing a little bit out of position, and that's why she's able to get a bunch of weird digs. And yeah, looking at that, definitely agree a little bit where she's in some weird spots and she's able to pick up some crazy balls. But I will say this week, even though she was in some weird spots sometimes, she was able to at least pick up the balls that were going to the spot where she should be in.
Right,
even if they're a little bit weird touches, she was still able to at least get them up. So it didn't feel as bad when maybe she was caught a little bit out of position. She did have to do some weird diving, one-arm things.
Yeah.
Actually, just another side note about the U.S. defense as a whole. There was a whole lot of one-armed digging going on this week, and I don't know what to think. I don't know how to feel about that. I was like,
you got to train it,
Yeah. Why are we doing so much diving one arm? I was like, oh, okay. It feels like we're doing this maybe a little bit too often, but if it works, it works. I don't know.
I think we kind of have to continue talking about the positions. I know we kind of mentioned each one, but I feel like, and to me, this is like the deeper question about the women's team, and we kind of talked about it last week. What does it look like when we're talking about a world champs next year and even VNL next year? And then ultimately the question of LA 28, because there are such big questions on the depth chart that you're talking about here for a lot of these positions. I think the only one to me that I'm not really thinking about is the setting spot.
Yeah,
you just hope
give me Jordan Poulter.
Yeah, just hope that she's healthy still.
Yeah.
And then again after that, I think it is probably just going to be Sage and Micah Hancock that are the other setters. Again, we don't know yet.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of time. But these other spots, I mean, there's a lot of players that are making it very difficult decisions for Eric Sullivan, right? And like we can start with the outsides, right? A great week from Logan Eggleston. The same you could say from Maddie Cubic Banks. And that's not considering, the Avery Skinner and I don't know what's going on with Khalil Lanier or Sarah Franklin, right? There's so many different things. Simone Levanc, like these four that are here right now feel like, if you didn't know any better, these could be the Olympic outsides that we want, but there's still a lot of other names out there.
Yeah, a lot of other names out there that are either not on the roster or haven't been played yet, which is also questionable to me, where I'm like, okay, like when are we going to start, bringing everyone in, at least giving some chances out, because this was week 2, and low-key, this was a really, really easy week.
Yeah.
And we didn't really switch out that many players.
I didn't mention Catherine Bowden. My bad.
Yeah, we didn't.
Her too.
we didn't switch out many players at all, which to me was a little bit of a problem. Where we bring in Jordan Poulter, we bring in Chiaka and Dana, but what other positions do we want to maybe try that second player out a little bit at least?
Yeah.
Didn't really happen, so I don't really know what's happening in the gym week to week, but it worries me a little bit that we're not giving anyone else any burn, where I do feel like there is some other good potential players out there.
I for sure agree. But do you think, and this is all speculation, and I'm not trying to put pressure on anyone or anything, but do you think it is a level of pressure that they are feeling? Maybe it's the coaching staff from just the USAV Federation or whatever you want to call it, that you have to perform well this year?
I think it could be some of that, and of course it's coming from people like us as well, where we're expecting big things.
Not that they probably hear us.
As in fans in general, us
Right.
as a fandom of the
Yeah.
US. But I don't know. I think that, we can go for results a little bit, but there is a little bit of way to balance that, because you are able to bring a bunch of alternates. You have a bunch of roster spots traveling week to week. So I think that we could do a little bit of a better job bringing in some of these other players to at least maybe showcase to the rest of the fans, okay, this is the level that other players are at right now.
Yeah.
Because as far as we know, there are some players not being brought in yet that could look better, that have felt a little bit better looking at their club seasons, or I don't know. It's weird.
Let's just get into it then, and we don't have to go on a crazy listing here, but who are those types of players that you're talking about, or that you feel at least? I mean, we kind of already mentioned a couple of them, but it's hard to say.
Yeah, I think for the outsides, that's really, really big. For the setters, of course, we've talked about it week after week. Cami Minor, where I want to at least see her get some burn, and we're bringing, I guess not to say we're bringing Micah Hancock and Sage every single week, but it's what it feels like we're about to do.
It does.
And
if we didn't do it in week 1 or 2, it feels like that's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. And we have these other setters like Jenna Gray, a couple other setters out there that just aren't on the VNL wide roster at all.
Yeah.
That I think is also it's a whole other problem. Even some college kids that I think could have been cool to bring, just like we're doing with the U.S. men's.
Yeah.
The outsides, of course, we mentioned all of those outsides. There are a ton more outsides as well. We didn't change any outsides this week.
Yeah, that is kind of the main ones, right? I mean, even just those 3. Mm-hmm. Khalil Lanier, Catherine Bowden, of course, different reasonings for why they're not on the roster.
Yeah.
But then also even Sarah Franklin, right? And I think there's been a lot of talk that she could do that, especially after moving from League One to move over to overseas. I think that was a huge jump for her in her career, and we haven't seen her really play. So, again, I don't really know what to expect from Sarah Franklin, and it kind of sucks that you don't get to see it yet.
Yeah, and then, of course, on the right side, I think Stephanie Savity's actually been playing pretty well, but
I agree.
There are other players, that maybe we could have rotated in and out. If you still want to keep Jordan Thompson in, as, we're trying to win every match, we're trying to bring in the big guns. I think there's still other players you could have brought in on the right side there.
Olivia Babcock.
And
I'm not saying that she's going to do amazing, but I would just want to see it again.
Yeah, give her a little bit of burn. I mean, Maddie Skinner is always there.
That's another huge name that, and I'm not saying any agendas here, but I am a little surprised that she has not gone to she has not traveled yet.
I know.
I'm just saying.
What's the point of playing on League One Austin if you're not going to be brought onto the roster? What the heck?
Not pushing agendas. I'm just saying, man. I'm just calling it how I see it.
Yeah, Kendall Kipp, I also thought was looking good this year. Yeah. So I don't know. The libero, I guess we just have the options that we have.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to keep pushing for Elena Scott until she is not, unless she decides not to do it anymore. Well, I'm going to keep pushing for it.
She's unable to this week, so it doesn't really matter as much. But still, regardless, we had a lot of spots to bring in different players, and we didn't do that. Now, now that we are this number 1 seed, maybe we'll want to for week 3 because I guess we have a little bit of leeway. I don't really think that's going to happen because I think week 3 into playoffs is where you just bring your main roster. And not to say unfortunately, but I really do think that this is going to be our main roster. And I guess we just brought him week 2, week 3. We'll bring him for playoffs as well because that might also almost be guaranteed. So,
and let's get into what week 3 looks like, right? And, while we're on Team USA, we'll keep going. And they're going to be playing against Thailand, Poland, Turkey, and Brazil. Right, and I believe this is the hardest week that they have played.
And all of these teams will most likely be bringing their full rosters, unlike maybe, say, these prior weeks where, Brazil was missing Gabby, but I'm pretty sure she's going to be back for week 3, so, yeah.
And I think everyone in the world knows that it is not going to be a fun time playing against Brazil when they have all 3 pin hitters out there.
Yeah, I think that'll change a lot of things, so it's going to be a little tough.
Yeah, and I think Turkey is also another team that, they're pretty much bringing everyone already now for week 2, and we saw how they did. And, of course, Kara Kurt is not there. She's injured. But they have everyone else, and that team is still looking very, very good.
And, I think maybe this week was also their warm-up a little bit.
For sure, yeah.
So.
I think the only team that, we really hope that we beat, and it's fair to expect it, is Thailand.
Yeah, but even though Thailand did have a solid week themselves this week.
I know, we'll talk about it, but I'm just saying, compared to the other teams out here, that is the team where we're like, okay, we have to walk out with at least that 1 win. And after that, hopefully we do more, maybe 2, 3. If we run out 4, hey, we're not going to be complaining.
Yeah.
But that would be insane. I'm not really expecting that. Trying to have realistic expectations here. But to me, that is going to be super telling of, is this roster it? Like you were kind of getting at after week 3 and then, of course, week 4 afterwards. But week 3 is going to be huge for me to tell, is this roster probably the one that we can rock with and we're going to be happy with
next year?
Yeah, and we'll be happy with. I'm not really sure if we're going to get the results that we want, but again, I think they're taking steps in the right direction. I feel a lot more optimistic now after this week, too.
Yeah, I feel a little bit better. I'll be a little bit more sure on what to expect next week when
For sure.
It really feels like we're going to play against
good teams.
Yeah, legitimate competition. And, don't want to write off Thailand again because I don't want us to pull a Canada where maybe Canada wasn't expecting the toughest match.
I'm sorry, Canada fans.
It was tough. So, yeah, just don't want to pull Canada there. That won't write them off just yet.
Yeah,
just because I'm a little worried.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I really like watching Thailand. They're super fun.
Yeah.
And I think they had an amazing match against Canada, so definitely not writing them off. But I'm just trying to be realistic with, what the week 3 schedule looks like for Team USA. And to be fair, that is kind of the match that you want to walk out with. Yeah. But after that, again, it's a lot of really good teams, so a lot to look forward to for week 3. I think this is really going to be telling, where the standings end up, who's going to be still really high, who's going to be dropping down, because it kind of feels like the top teams have not really played each other yet. Not really.
Yeah, and definitely not the top teams in top form. That just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to be a little bit interesting. We do have high hopes for the U.S., but now I think it's time for us to start talking about some other teams. And as I mentioned earlier,
you'll see it in the title.
Some of the top teams were dropping some crazy matches. Now, of course, they didn't bring their full rosters, but in the end, I believe we have to put some of them on Fraud Watch. So this is going to be the Fraud Watch segment of the show. Let's see who we're putting on Fraud Watch right now.
We got segments out here.
Oh yeah.
Let's start with the main team here, and you can
let's start with your team out here.
And if you watched last week's episode, you know that I claimed them as my favorite team to watch besides Team USA. It's Japan. And of course, after I jump on I'm not on the bandwagon. I was already a fan of them. You can attest to it. I was a fan of them from even last year.
Yeah.
But this is kind of concerning.
Yeah. To mention what happened, they ended the week off on 2 losses. They lost 1-3 versus the Dominican Republic, and then they got 3-0 swept by Italy.
Yeah, and I want to think that it's a very huge problem, but then I also think to myself that this is kind of the Japan team that we've kind of grown accustomed to anyways. So I'm like concerned, but not really that much, because I do think, I mean, of course, the losses are not great, right? Against DR, and that was winless before that, and then Italy. That is not their full team. But I do think that we've kind of seen this from Japan before, when not all 3 pin hitters are playing extremely well, that they can lose a game. And, you know, when they have two of their pin hitters not playing well, they're more than likely going to be losing a game. And it really does come down to, you know, do they have enough service pressure? Because you know that their blocking is not going to be as good as these other top teams. But their floor defense is amazing. It's phenomenal. Their serve and pass, I feel like there's times where it does crumble at like the worst times possible. And this was definitely one of the weeks where you saw it happen, where for some reason just the passing just doesn't look as good as it normally does, even though they're usually like a dimes passing team. So
yeah,
I am like concerned, but to me it's also not something that we haven't seen before. I think the problem is who they lost to is what makes me more concerned about it, though.
Yeah, I think that's the real biggest thing. That's the reason that, you know, I want to put them on fraud watch, is because really versus Dominican Republic, who hadn't won a match yet, like really.
Yeah, that's not the one that you should be losing.
Yeah, I think Sato was just not balling out. She's not having I don't even think really she's having that good of a VNL. I think, you know, she's scoring a lot of points still, but the errors are really, really starting to pile up for her, and I just don't think that's good, especially for a Japanese team. Normally you want them to be low error. That's kind of their MO, where they'll like kind of wear teams down, find gaps in long rallies with really good defense, and when the point is just ending with Sato making some sort of like hitting error, getting blocked maybe, just swinging out, that's not really Japan's MO, and so far not too impressed with what she's been doing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I liked her week 1. I think week 2 was definitely a more of a contrast there. Mm-hmm. But I think you can definitely, and again, this is kind of what has happened for Japan for the women's side, is the middle play. And again, their middles are awesome to watch. But again, I think that it's just not as great as middles that you play against. And it's not really their fault. They're doing as best as they can, and they play well. Yeah. But when you compare their size to other middles, and sometimes it feels like other teams just don't really respect their middle attack.
I mean, they don't.
Yeah,
they don't have to.
And again, I think it's kind of hard to figure out how to, you know, make that better, because you kind of just work with what you have. And again, I think they're doing a solid job of that. But again, I'm not really sure. Maybe you have to run even more BIC than you already are. But they already run a decent amount. And they already run a bunch of crazy routes for the middles. I'm not sure what else you can do. But I do think there's times where, to me, it's so odd that the serve receive and the serving just breaks down at random times, where it's like, usually that is the thing that they are super good at.
That is supposed to be their main thing.
Yeah, so again, I'm not really sure where you go from here or what you really think about for the Japan team. For me, I honestly thought it was a little bit more surprising that they were undefeated already.
I think this happens pretty much every year, where they start off really strong because they do bring their whole team anyways. Sure. So they're playing against teams who probably don't bring their full teams and kind of win out, especially because they just come in really strong. A lot of other teams are kind of warming up that week 1 or getting used to it, at least those first couple matches. Yeah. Japan is normally never like that. And I feel like they go into week 2 still looking pretty strong. This week they did not.
Okay, and let's talk about one of your favorite, or if not your favorite setter, because I think that is also something that is at least worth mentioning, is what's going on with Seki.
She's low-key trolling, and when your backup setters are like shorter than you by a good amount, and you're already only like 5'8", like you got to do better, because when it's, what's her name? Is it like Tsukasa? Who's like really short. She's like, I don't know.
5'3".
Like 5'3". That's going to be a problem when we let her play some front row. So Seki,
especially when you're playing against really tall teams like a Serbia, a Czechia, like all these other teams, even Italy, and it's not including the main roster, it is a little concerning. But and it's so odd to see, because I mean, she really is a fantastic setter.
Yep.
And we saw her play in week 1, and I swear it was like art. Like, it's so impressive to watch her play. But we kind of saw a little bit of the cracks then as well.
Yeah, she was getting subbed out week 1.
Where I'm not really sure what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure if it's like the systems that are going on or
a connection of some kind.
Yeah,
I don't
just long week or long season in club. I don't know. It's really hard to kind of pin down what it is, but it is a little concerning, I guess, for that part of the team.
Yeah, I think it's mainly just like the pins, besides Wada, aren't looking in top form, and then Seki isn't playing that well. Middle situation is always going to be like this for Japan, so it is what it is. And yeah, defense isn't great either, which is Japan's main thing.
Yeah, I'm right, and it's always consistency with that. Again, we'll kind of see how they look moving forward, and that kind of determines how they're going to end up doing. But we say all that, and then they're still at the number 5 spot here in the standings. You know, some of these other teams are a little bit higher with the same amount of wins. So we kind of just have to see where it goes from here.
Yeah.
I think 6-2 is still a great record, but there's a lot of things when you watch the game that is concerning that you're not sure what's going to happen.
Also, who they lost to, Fraud Watch, especially that lost to Italy. And speaking of Italy, it is time to move on to Italy, our next Fraud Watch team, because although they did only lose 1 game this week, they got spanked by the USB team. Like it looked rough for them. They were playing so bad. And granted, they did not have Antropova out there. She did come in at certain points to like serve, sub, block, and but it was only for like a quick sub.
Yeah.
But oh my god, did they look so bad? And I'm like, is this really the depth of Italy right now? This is like, if you go into their bench, this is how they play. When you don't have their top players, this is what Italy looks like. You're supposed to be one of the you are supposed to be the number 1 in the world, and you're supposed to have depth. But God, did you look so awful versus the U.S. That was actually embarrassing. I was like low-key embarrassed for them.
I think it's so interesting because like the way that the perspective changes just based off of this one loss is insane.
It's like when the U.S. lost to Canada, kind of.
Yeah, even though, you know, the U.S. ended up doing 3-1 and we're like, oh yeah, that's still good for the record-wise, but the perspective completely changed. And I think it's the same here with Italy. And you kind of summed it up, where had they not lost this badly, maybe if they went, even if they lost in 4, and 5, of course, and then, you know, of course, if they won, but just this one loss and how they lost, it does bring up certain questions of like, is the B team and C team like that good?
Yeah.
Because that is the MO, especially of this Italian, program for both the men's and women's, is that we know that they are so deep and they have 15, 30 players that they could pick from, and you feel confident, at least that they're going to look good. This was definitely a question mark. And like you said, I'm not really sure what it was that made them look really bad.
The U.S. didn't even look particularly good.
Exactly.
It's just they looked really bad.
And they did bring Farr, right? And that's something that you got to think about, too, is that Farr did play.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit there, too. Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's a middle, I feel like that's a slightly lower impact in terms of as far as roles go.
Yeah. But... And you know they were continuing that win streak that they had before, and now that it's done and over, it does make me feel a little bit, I don't know, not concerned about the team, because when the starters are playing, I'm gonna be like, oh damn, that's like not fair because they're so good. But yeah, it is a little funny that this one loss, how they lost, has really changed the perspective on how you think about Italy and kind of their depth.
Yeah, and if we were to go even further with this narrative, it would be something like, okay, if the Italian B to C team isn't that good, and, some of their other players are also going to play in like Turkey, other leagues, is the playing Italian A1, is it like all that? Is it starting to be a little bit overrated?
Damn.
I feel like League One is low-key bringing in a lot of talent for this upcoming year. So honestly, a big thing that we've talked about, I feel like everyone kind of talks about, is that, okay, we want everyone to go try and play in Italy A1 or Italy in some level, overseas to some capacity and really get all that experience playing against top players.
Yeah.
But if our B team here, who was basically all staying in the U.S., was able to do this to Italy, you know what? Go ahead, play in League One. I guess play in MLV too. Why not? Because apparently it worked.
You don't really believe that, right? You're not really talking down on A1, right?
I don't really believe that, but I do think it says something about League One and that we shouldn't really be looking down on it too much.
I think that's fair, honestly, and especially with next year. I think League One is definitely going to look a lot better. I think it's kind of funny that that's kind of how where the conversation has gone.
But I'm just saying,
Hey, you know what? You got a point. A lot of the international players are coming over, and it is going to make it a lot more fun. But, you got to respect A1. Like, it's pretty insane how great those players are. And
I'm just saying this is how I'm putting them on Fraud Watch. This is the watch we got to put them on.
Okay. And then I don't know if we want to put this part on Fraud Watch, but what do we think about the whole experiment with Antropova playing on the outside?
I think it's probably going to work. I don't think she's like that bad. I think it's just when you don't have someone like Igonu also on the right side, it feels pointless, which is why they did put her in for the last game of the week. They wanted to put her in on that right side. So it's like, yeah, I think next week we're going to see the experiment happen, and I think it's probably going to be pretty solid. Antropova, I don't think, she's not like great on the outside. She's not like the best passer, not the best defensively, but I think having both offensive weapons out there like that is going to be so gross.
And this popped into my head. What do we think about, and again, we're going to have to see it more, of course, at tougher competition. But, how does this compare to the whole Karakurt and Vargas conversation with, like, two right sides? One's got to move over. And how's that transition going to look, considering both two kind of that double-headed snake there? And, this Italian duo could look really, really nasty if it all works out.
I mean, they're starting it off a little bit later than that duo did, and I think for Turkey, it was starting to work out for them, where Karakurt was actually, like, fairly serviceable on the outside, where, it took a little bit to get the passing all right.
Yeah.
But I think it was, I guess she's not playing right now, but it was looking a little bit better for her as a passer, as a defender. So I think the same thing, if it happens for Italy, the U.S. may be in a little bit of trouble again trying to get that gold medal.
You can't even just say just the U.S. I think it's the whole world.
Yeah, but we're a U.S.-focused podcast.
I'm just saying.
That's what I'm worried about.
I'm just saying, if Antropova figures it out, which, I mean, it's not a bad idea to bet on that. It's so dangerous. It's so scary for the rest of the world when you have a 6'8" player that is an absolute monster as an athlete, and she's so great, and she's still so young. If she figures it out, man, that team is going to be OP.
Yeah.
Of course, you still have to think about, what is the rest of the team going to look like because of, players that are maybe not going to be there later on. Of course, the libero has already, Monica De Janeiro has already retired. She's hung up her shoes, but you still have Alessia Oro. This team does look really good even in the middle as well. There's a lot of really great pieces that it is scary if this works out.
Hey, I thought they were supposed to be scary even with this B2C team this week, and here we are. 0-3 versus the U.S., baby.
You not believing in the Antropova?
I think it'll probably work out really well for them, and of course they're going to be like the top team in the world again. But for now, I just got to say, they're on Fraud Watch. But let's move on to the next team for Fraud Watch. This is where we start getting a little bit iffy with it, and we're just starting to make a couple of reaches. Even for Italy, it was a little bit of a reach. Japan was the only real fraud we needed to kind of lock in on. But now we're moving on.
You gotta call out my team like that, man.
Now we're going to move on to Brazil, who lost 3-2 to Germany to end the week. And although it was their only loss, I do think just this entire week, it showed a lot of issues with this Brazilian team without Gabby.
Yeah.
Now, they did also get pushed to 5 against Belgium, and this is a Belgium who wasn't playing Britt Erbats. So I think that's also its own type of issue where, Brazil needs to kind of lock in. I think Anna Cristina and Julia Bergman playing together, it feels a little inconsistent where I feel like we didn't get any matches where they were both playing like really well.
I know, but we're saying all this. You gotta wait for Gabby to come back.
No, Gabby will change a whole lot.
She's gonna change everything.
Yeah, it'll be absolutely different.
Yeah.
But just for now, to include someone else onto this Fraud Watch a little bit, I had to put Brazil's. It's more like Brazil's other players besides Gabby as this category.
And to me, I think the question is a little bit on the setting position. Mm-hmm. I think that's always going to be a question of, how far can that really take this team? Because, of course, yes, you need people to score, and Gabby, one of the best, if not the best player in the world. And then you have Anna Cristina has been looking amazing. Julia Bergman has really come into her own. You still need someone that can dish the rock out there. So to me, that's kind of a position that I worry about just a little bit. But of course, this team is still very good. And then I would assume that you have all three of those pins all playing at the same time, right?
I'm thinking next week that's exactly what we're going to see.
Is it Julia Bergman going to the right side? Is it Anna Christina going to the right side? I'm not really sure. I would assume Bergman.
We'll see whoever they feel comfortable with. It depends. I feel like they've both had like good passing games, and then they've both had bad passing games. So maybe it's just you figure like, oh, who's playing well today? Who's passing today? Like,
yeah, and
you go.
I'm curious if maybe the Anna Christina like move just bring her back over to the right side. You know, she was already doing that before. I don't know, but maybe ball control looks good. I don't know. There's a lot of questions for this team as well.
See.
But again, it looks a lot cleaner when Gabby is out there, so we have to reserve a little bit of judgment. But week 2, I do not mind it that they're on fraud watch because that loss to Germany is tough.
Yeah, I feel like everyone else was like playing super inconsistent besides Helena, who came in and played pretty well. So that's all for the Brazilian team. They're also like just a really iffy like fraud watch team.
They're literally second in the standings.
Yeah, it's just they lost. I did think that they were going to stay undefeated this week.
Yeah.
So that's why we're watching you at least. Mainly the watch part, but. Now we can move on to the last team who is part of Fraud Watch, where we have Canada.
They're such an odd team.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about it.
What is going on with the Canadian team?
That loss to Thailand was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen.
What's going on?
One of the weirdest games I've ever watched.
Yeah.
And I swear, if I showed this to someone that doesn't watch international volleyball, you saw Thailand, they would think that Thailand was one of the best teams in the world when they played against Canada. I don't know what was going on. They were playing on an absolute different level. They were going nuclear. I don't know what was going on. But Canada, they could not figure out what to do.
They were also mad trolling.
Yeah, and I think there's so many things to be said about this outside core that they don't know. And Gudetti doesn't know which outsides to roll with still. And I think that is concerning leading into LA 28 when this is a team that you're really hoping that can push, I don't know about medaling, but as close as you can, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you have some great talent in Kira Van Rijk. We'll talk about it in a second. But that outside core is still, there's a lot of questions. I think Guzin has looked really good, but she's still so young. She makes a lot of mistakes.
Also inconsistent.
But Hillary Johnson, Mitrovic, and then same thing for Alexa Gray. There's times where they look really good and then they don't. And then he's kind of has that revolving door on the outside. But let's talk about Kira Van Rijk. What did you think about Kira Van Rijk in that Thailand game?
She's playing so bad. Oh my God. She basically, I mean, that was
a softball right down the middle for you.
You normally want to rely on her. And of course that works out in almost every other game you play. But against Thailand at the very end there, she kind of just choked it. And it felt like they had that chance, but really, she got blocked by the Thai outsides. Not to say, like, Thailand's bad in any way, but Kira Van Rijk is such a physical athlete and is also, on top of that, is still, like, half a foot taller than the Thai outsides.
And it's not even it's not even, like, saying the Thailand players are bad. It's purely the height and the physicality at the net that you cannot debate. There's no debating about Kira Van Rijk should be hitting over, through, around, any single way possible over the Thailand block. And then, of course, the floor defense is a different thing, right? Because they have great floor defense. But the block should not be a problem. But I swear, it felt like she was getting blocked every other swing.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening.
It blocked, hitting out. It was kind of really awkward. Or just, like, getting a block touched where now Thailand has good defense, so they were able to play the ball. And as soon as the Thai crowd got roaring again, because this was they were the hosts this week.
Yeah, they're playing in Bangkok.
Yeah, so it was going absolutely insane in that arena for them. I think especially because Thailand, they really wanted this win to stay in the
We'll talk about it.
But yeah, they really needed it, and when it started to happen and the crowd noticed, oh my God, did they go absolutely crazy. And it felt like Canada, they just got completely overwhelmed. Aside from already being overwhelmed by the Thai team, because, Thailand runs all these different plays with their setting.
I'm telling you,
attacking.
Man, they looked like the best team in the world. They were getting like a wide open net sometimes on some of the plays that they're running.
They're the team that all the Haikyuu fans should really be comparing to, like, Hinata. So
we're putting you on game right there. If you aren't watching Women's Thailand, watch that game.
Yeah, I mean, they're the ones
super hype.
They're the ones running all the different plays. I think they have just the way it is for them. They just breed like the most creative setters.
Yeah.
So it is really crazy. I just realized I got sidetracked by Thailand a little bit. Now back to Canada. God, what was going on with that Canadian team? I think even in the post-game interviews, they were kind of just like, yeah, we don't know what happened. Like, we just played really poorly ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think this was truly just something coming from Canada that they just choked it.
And it's so odd because when you look at the numbers, Kieran Reich actually had like not a terrible game, right? She had 20 kills. She hit efficiency like just under 20%,
which is not good. Not good, but also not that bad.
But you really have to just watch the game, and then you can feel the impact of, okay, yeah, she was getting kills, but a lot of the big points were swinging back onto Thailand's favor because of, getting blocked, hitting it like right into their block. She's getting stuffed. And to me, that is like kind of concerning that, we saw it happen in person against Germany in week 1. And to me, that was kind of reasonable because Germany has an insane block.
Yeah, the German block and the Thai block are really, really different.
They're very different. And the fact that, and again, she's an amazing player. It's just, this game felt like an anomaly. But like, I don't know what was going on. I don't know why she's getting blocked that much. It just shouldn't happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. They just really didn't look good. Had to put them on fraud watch, even though for them, they also did win every other game this week. They did beat Poland the day after, which was very, very big because Poland is still a good team. They don't have their full roster, granted, but they're a really, really good team that you want to beat, and they did. So,
that's why we have them on the board of fraud watch,
Yeah. They're being watched, but if Canada just feels like the most randomly up and down team ever because God, they went from playing like complete garbage one day and then played extremely well the next day.
And we kind of saw that in person too.
Yeah.
From week 1, that there were moments they looked so good. They looked unstoppable. And then there's other times where it's, man, I don't know what's going on. It's like frustrating to watch for them. And of course we were in Canada, so we were with the Canadian fans, and they were frustrated as well. But it really was a roller coaster of emotions watching Canada.
Really weird, but that'll do it for Fraud Watch right now. And now I just wanted to talk about some of the other teams. And while we were at it, I was already talking a lot about Thailand. So let's just continue talking about the Thai team because they did win 2 matches this week at home, which was really, really huge for just keeping them in the race to be out of relegation. Now, in general, they all have been losing a lot of games that went to 5 anyways.
Yeah.
So they've been kind of stacking up some points, but these 2 wins are huge for making sure that they don't get relegated. And I think just for them, it brings a lot of confidence to the crowd as well. And like I mentioned earlier, they're one of the most fun teams to watch because they run so many different plays with setting. Their setters, I think, just get trained to be super, super creative and just do like the craziest thing in like any situation.
Yeah. And shout outs to Shampoo Goodpart, right? We're talking a lot about her. And if you guys don't remember, she is on the Orlando Valkyries, or she was when she was healthy, that she was playing on that team. Like, there's a lot of people that you want to watch that you see in VNL right now, but they're playing in MLV, they're playing in League One. That it is a lot of great talent that, sometimes I guess we take a little bit for granted, but we see her on this national team like, man, she is really good.
Yeah, we're going to see where Shampoo moves to this upcoming season. It may still be the US. That could be kind of interesting, but also, their other setter,
Good luck with the name.
Jason Nathanicha, the other setter, I guess, who played a bunch for them, also is playing super well, and that's kind of where I'm getting this idea that they're kind of trained to just do a lot of crazy sets because she was also doing absolutely insane things with the ball. And shout out to her, she's playing for the Grand Rapids Rise this upcoming season in the MLV, so that'll be super cool, especially if Shampoo isn't playing in MLV this upcoming season. We still have a Thai setter, which would be awesome. So yeah, Thailand just does some crazy things. Sasi Paporn and Pimpi Chava are both really, really good pins as well.
I'm telling you, Sasi Paporn looked like she was the GOAT against Canada. I was like, yo, she's literally killing every single ball that goes her way.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure she had 19 kills on like 38% efficiency. The numbers do not do it justice.
They were also really, really clutch. Like, her points were super clutch.
I swear to God, she looked like the GOAT.
Yeah.
You have to watch that game. She looked so good in that game.
I think also in terms of just games where you want to hear the crowd go absolutely insane, that's gotta be one of them.
Yeah. Thailand with their home crowd, it's nuts.
For me, that was like second to being in person for the Canada-USA one, where Canada won. That one was absolutely insane
and
as well.
Everyone hated the US.
Yeah, that was quite something. But I think just the way that this crowd lit up when Thailand won, it was absolutely crazy. And yeah, they also beat Bulgaria this week. They beat them 3-0. So that is also a really big thing for them for this relegation race, because Bulgaria is another team that is kind of at the bottom of the standings there.
Yeah.
And Thailand was able to get themselves a little bit of wiggle room, especially in case they don't win one game next week. Who knows if
We'll
they're
see.
going to win one. We'll see. It's a lot of tough things. But yeah, that's one of the teams in the relegation race. Let's move to another one. Let's have the Dominican Republic here, where they also got their first win versus Japan, like we mentioned earlier. They almost beat Czechia. There was a kind of controversial call in the fourth about like tipping/throwing and how that rule is overreach.
I think it's even more funny that the VNL decided to try and make that rule, and it honestly has made those types of plays even more controversial than it was before.
Yeah.
Where everyone's expecting it to be called, and when it's not called, that's when the problem arises. And then when it goes the other way, then it's also even more of a problem.
Yeah.
So I don't know how, even just the volleyball world as a whole is going to evolve and kind of figure out where do you go from this, like how difficult do you have to be on this type of call. But this is another reason that like makes it like we have to figure it out. This type of controversial call, because imagine that happens in LA 28, like something like that happens and it's deciding a medal.
Yeah, every game matters.
That is not the way that you want a game to be decided.
Yeah, that would probably put some asterisks on people's credit that they give and the medals that are given out.
Yeah.
Although, I guess a medal's a medal anyways, but it is really controversial. I think the big thing was that earlier in the match, Czechia kind of like did one of those like throwdowns where it really did feel like she kind of like did the change direction thing that you're not really supposed to.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really a joust because the Dominican Republic block was super late, so they didn't really touch the ball either.
Yeah.
And that feels like it should be a call. But then at the very end of the fourth set, the Dominican Republic kind of did a ball where they kind of like tipped it upwards like that. And that also got called, or that one did get called while the other one didn't get called.
Yeah.
And that was to lose the set. That was already an extra points. I think that made it like 29-31 or something like that.
Yeah.
So that was pretty controversial, and I don't think that the Dominican Republic was really able to bounce back from that in the fifth set. So yeah, Czechia won that game. Really could have gone either way. If the Dominican Republic won that one, they would have been in a very good spot. But now they are at the bottom of the standings still, alongside France with only one win each. It's going to be tough for them. They are on the chopping block for this relegation race.
Yes, and this kind of, is a segment in itself that we're kind of manifesting, where we are talking about Thailand, Dominican Republic, Bulgaria, we already mentioned a little bit. But the one that we have to talk about is France. Mm-hmm. And we saw France in person. We actually thought that there was some good plays that came out of France.
Yeah.
But then we also noticed a lot of plays that we did not like and made us think, this team is, even when the U.S. beat France, we were like, how do we take this win? But they're also on the relegation race that we're talking about here, where it is looking very difficult. They went 0-4 last week. What do you think about France right now?
I think they're just probably one of the most, not to say sloppy, but they make a lot of really random errors.
Yeah.
That really holds them back, because there are times where the team actually looks pretty good. And I'm like, okay, they can kind of hang with some of these top teams, but then they just kind of keep losing and losing and losing. And you realize it's because they just play themselves out of every single match, basically, where they kind of just do stupid mistakes, like do weird hitting things. Yeah, they just play poorly for some stretch of time, and they lose a set, then it happens again, they lose a set, and it happens again, and next thing you know, they lost the match, they got 3-0'd.
Yeah, and I mean, this last week was the most rough week that you could even think about. I mean, the 0-4 is already difficult, but the fact that you got swept by the first three matches, of course, albeit these were tough teams to beat, right? Yeah. Of course, Brazil, not going to be easy to beat, even without Gabby. Turkey is the same thing. Even China, and I do want to talk about China at the end of the episode. Mm. But China as well is a pretty good team right now. France lost, got swept by them as well. The Belgium game is the one that one hurts, right? That one hurts for France. Yeah. And you went 5 there. That is one where you thought, at least we can walk out with this one and we can be happy about it. Did not happen. The 0-4, it does make it feel really difficult, because, man, it's a really tough hole to climb out of now.
Yeah, they're in a little bit of trouble. It's them and Dominican Republic, each with just one win each.
And honestly, it's tough, because we have a favorite player from this team, Juliette Gallant, the libero. My God, was so impressive.
So good.
And
so good.
I mean, I swear to God, she was, from the week 1 that we watched, she was one of the best playmakers. Mm-hmm. And that's everything. And that's a libero doing that with the digs and the defense, the serve receive. She was doing everything that you could ask from a libero, and there are just times where she can only do so much because she is a libero. She can't score the points.
Score, yeah.
She was doing so much, and it felt rough watching it. I was like, dang.
It's depressing.
She's doing everything she can. And of course, it was tough to try and win those matches as well, but I don't know. I don't know where France really goes from here, to be honest.
You could tell that at some points she was like, please, I'm putting every ball up, please score.
Yeah,
and it didn't happen.
And it makes me look at them differently compared to even a Dominican Republic, just because there's times where they look really good, but they can't sustain it. They look good for moments, and then it vanishes. And I don't know what is going on with that. I don't know what to say. I forget which league he's going to, but the coach... Cesar Hernandez, I believe is his name. I don't remember it. I think it's League One, but he's going to one of the leagues here. I'm not saying I question his coaching or anything, but to me it's just interesting that he is coming over to the U.S. to coach, and I don't really know what's going on with this team.
It may be just a
player diff.
Player thing. Like I don't know what to say. At some point when everyone's just making stupid hitting errors, like, is it a coaching thing? Like,
yeah. I mean, like, the team looks good at times. That's the thing that makes it more frustrating for this team.
Maybe it's a little bit of the mental stuff that he can help out a little bit more with. But I think for this relegation race, before we get into the other teams, let's talk about the schedule for these bottom two teams, because these are the two that we're really, really keeping our eyes on. So for the Dominican Republic, their week 3 schedule, they have Belgium, going to be tough. Ukraine, tough but possible. China, could be tough. And then Canada, who... we put them on fraud watch, so
albeit they're still a pretty solid team.
Yeah. So this is a little bit tough for the Dominican Republic, but I feel like in the same way that France, sometimes looks good, sometimes looks bad. I feel like Dominican Republic always just has this opportunity where a player just goes crazy. Like Flor Marie Heredia Colon, she just happened to go crazy. They won a match. It's still possible. So that we'll have to see with them. But then on to France's schedule. They have it a little bit interesting as well, where they're going to be playing against the Netherlands. It's possible. Serbia, that'll be tough. Week 3 for sure. Bulgaria, that's another team that's at the bottom with them. So that's a really key match. And then Czechia as well, which will be a little tough also.
Yeah, and the VNL is so smart, man. How did they figure it out that... the top teams got to play each other, and then some of the bottom teams got to play each other.
All this drama.
And it makes the week 3 all that more fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. even the matches with these players or these teams that aren't highly ranked.
Yeah.
Now that we have reasons to watch all of them.
It's important.
Everything is matter. I feel like more than players making or teams making the playoffs, the playoff race is of course always really fun.
Yeah.
Trying to not be relegated is also its own thing, because there's a different level of desperation that it brings out of teams. So I think this is going to be really fun. Now we can just mention the other two teams that are really, really in this relegation race. We have Bulgaria first, and then Ukraine also. Ukraine's first VNL. Hopefully they will not be dropped out. I think their team looks strong enough where they kind of won't, but we'll see. But yeah, Bulgaria, their schedule for week 3 is they're against Serbia, tough. Czechia, a little tough. France, that's the key one. And then Germany, also kind of tough.
Yeah.
For Ukraine, their week 3 schedule.
They got a very tough one.
Yeah, it's going to be Italy, who's probably going to bring their full roster. Really tough. China, who will also be trying to make playoffs, gonna be tough. Dominican Republic, that's a key match. And then Belgium, which is also kind of tough.
Yeah, and again, it's these teams that they have so many great moments, but it really is consistency. And I feel like that's kind of what it comes down to. And I think that's just volleyball in general. Mm-hmm. It really comes down to how consistent are you in your level of play, and can you sustain that throughout multiple sets, throughout multiple matches. Of course, that's kind of the way that VNL has scheduled their tournament, is that you kind of have to be able to be consistent, and you have to be able to bring a deep team, right? Because the schedule is so tough, and it is like back-to-backs.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
That you really need to have a deep team. And I think that kind of makes it difficult for, especially like a team that like Ukraine that kind of just came in, and you kind of you're looking to play most of your top players because those are your best players, and you want to just try and win as many games as you can. Where there's teams like we mentioned Italy, of course we criticize them, but hey, they literally were they were doing so well before that, and that was with like only Antropova, like a lot of other players. So it's very difficult to say like, oh yeah, like the really good teams you can kind of rest a lot of players. The US has been doing that too, and then these like bottom teams, you kind of have to play everyone every game, and you're kind of struggling to try and just get as many wins as you can to not get relegated.
I think we are going to be seeing a crazy race kind of at the bottom here, where every team will be super desperate for wins. I think a good example already was when Thailand this week was getting their wins. You could see that desperation from them and the crowd to just get wins so that they can remove themselves from this race already, which I guess they did a pretty good job. They do also only have 2 wins, but they have the points to kind of remove themselves as long as they don't end up, I don't know if it's possible, but these bottom teams would all have to like win a couple games to really make it so they lose. But yeah, that is going to be super interesting. But if you have any other teams you wanted to talk about, which ones?
And, maybe this is a little bit biased because we are part Chinese, but I do want to talk about the Chinese team. I just want to give them their flowers because, man, are they so exciting to watch. And they're actually doing quite well with a very young team, right?
They have a good mix of young and vets.
Yeah, but they got like some really great young stars that are looking amazing. The setter, the middle, they're all doing so great. Like, what do you think about this team? Because even though last week they were playing against some really good teams, they did pretty solid.
Yeah, I'll say it is crazy that when we mention young players for like, say, the US or even some other countries, they're like, they're in their late teens, early 20s. For the US, it's definitely more along the lines of those early 20s.
Which is a whole different conversation in itself.
Yeah, but for China, these young players are like 16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
So they are really finding a way to get the youth into this international level of play while still bringing, of course, their more experienced players who, I've been longtime fans of. But Jesus, these young players are kind of balling out. They're making their mark known. And it makes it kind of scary to be like, okay, this is the level that a 17-year-old is playing at right now.
Yeah.
Like, how good is she going to get? Because that means it's going to be a problem for many years to come internationally. And we're going to be looking at a Chinese powerhouses again.
Like resurgence, yeah. And this even is not even considering Wu Mengjie, who was one of the best scorers last year. And she's out with an injury, and she's not playing this VNL. But it's just one other player that is really young and looking really good that, man, I don't know what to think about this Chinese team, but they're looking really nice. And of course, they went 2-2 last week. You beat Germany, which is great, but you lose to like a Turkey and a Brazil where you can't really fault them for losing those games. Those are really good teams. I kind of was expecting them to win those, but it's been really amazing watching that team. I think they're definitely one of the more exciting teams to watch as well. I think that young fire definitely helps.
Yeah, in my opinion, it would be kind of interesting to see the U.S. kind of adopt something similar where...
Let's get into it.
Yeah, if we did have any young players who we really wanted to bring into this, like, maybe not necessarily the international stage like this, but, if there was anyone who felt a little bit ready, who could train with the team... Carrie Knotts, I think, was the big one who got randomly brought to that scrimmage and then didn't play.
I loved it, though.
But... yeah, if she's in the gym with them like that, it would be kind of sick. I don't think she is, but if she did get good enough to play at this level, especially while we're just happen to be bringing, like, not to say random players, but we're just bringing some players. Like, that'd be kind of cool too.
I guess it's getting more deeper in the woods, and maybe this could be a different video, but we'll just talk about it. Do you think it's because of, like, the college culture that it kind of prevents these players from wanting to go straight to pro? Because, I mean... from where we're from as well, like, you don't really think about not going to college. That's kind of just the thing to do in the US, and it stems into volleyball as well, versus a lot of these other players that are so great at a young age, where it could be possible for some of our US kids that are playing club and they're doing really well, but they don't go right into international play, kind of like what these other players are doing.
Yeah, I think it just happens to do with, like, it is basically our college and, like, club culture where you don't get the same training from a young age that maybe these other countries do, where they have like academy teams or like academy club teams for their own volleyball clubs, where these young players will still kind of train alongside the professionals already. They'll scrimmage against the professionals a little bit. That's not something we really get ever.
And kind of mentioning it from what my knowledge is, I have seen a lot from the national team development program, and that's kind of their academy level. But I would like to see, hey, can you bring some of those players and have them play against the more, like, it doesn't have to be the national team, but those borderline players where it could be really great for them as that experience versus, the U.S. does win a lot of those U19, U17, U21. We're very competitive in those tournaments as well. But it would be great to see them, hey, let's bring them up, maybe one step higher and kind of push the envelope. I think that could be great for the development of kind of USA volleyball.
Yeah, I think also the bigger difference is that when I mentioned, like, those academy teams or whatever, like the club junior teams, it is for the club season.
Yeah.
So it's like during the year, they'll be training against pros. it'll, like, not to say it's like kind of their after school thing, because they still have to go to school, just like US kids have to go to school.
Yeah.
But they're getting a lot more intense training, which doesn't really happen in the US. Now, of course, you want to give the kids the childhood and everything like that, but it'd be cool if there was the option.
Yeah, I mean, especially for the kids that are super committed. And I think there are kids out there like that, where maybe they just want that, they don't have that opportunity yet. Where, and again, this isn't us like vying for kids not to go to school and go to college, but like
go to school.
But like, you know, like if they want to do that and they are skilled enough to kind of try it, I think they should. I think it should be, you know, an opportunity that is available to them. And again, that doesn't mean not go to college. Maybe you could still go to college, but maybe they could also do like a one and done or whatever type of thing. Something like that could be cool.
I think maybe something that'll be interesting moving forward, especially as the US Pro Leagues start to grow, would be maybe like, especially League One, because the League One general organization owns a lot of clubs, which is its own big, like, controversial topic that I also don't know how to feel about. But maybe if some of the clubs, the really good, strong, like, youth clubs in those areas where there's a pro team, can maybe get some training, some scrimmages against, like, you know, these pro teams at some point during the week.
Yeah.
It would be kind of cool, and it would kind of expose these kids to, like, okay, there's a higher level that they're actually playing against versus just, like, watching, because I think that happens already a lot, where a lot of club kids goes to watch these pro teams, but I think maybe just getting some of that, like, random playing would be kind of cool.
You know, and now I'm cooking up some crazy stuff. But you know how like the NBA does like their G League Ignite? Mm-hmm. What if we did something like that? And you kind of mentioned with the pro leagues where they are getting bigger and they are bringing in better talent, which I think is amazing and it's in the right direction. What if you maybe, and it doesn't have to be like a real team, but like you do bring up like a national team development program, like team kinda, and you have them kind of play in a couple games here and there, where it doesn't count for anything, but it could be great for them as an experience to build up themselves, get a little bit better, and play against some pro teams or, you know, some of these pro players. Yeah. It could be great, and, you know, it could be kind of fun. I think that'd be kind of interesting to see, like, how do these, you know, young 17, 18-year-olds that are playing really well, how do they stack up against pro-ish players?
Yeah, I just don't think that would, like, work out logistically.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea how to do that.
In terms of like building teams now, I think maybe seeing like our like U18 teams, U17 teams, U21 teams maybe play against some of our other teams that are at home right now, like our national team players.
That would be amazing.
Who are not here, like seeing them do some show matches during the summer. That'd be kind of cool. Or even just show matches for like YouTube, film some scrimmages, do whatever. Yeah. And, you know, we got these ideas, hit us up. We'll be down to film them. But yeah, it would be really cool. I think it would build a lot of culture for just U.S. volleyball, youth volleyball, give young players a lot to aspire to, aside from just the professional leagues already. So I think it would be something interesting.
And this is like the best time to try and start doing it because of the U.S. Pro Leagues being more prominent in these club kids' upbringing. Where before you really didn't really think about the national team players unless you were really locked in like that. But I mean, even admittedly, me personally, I didn't really think about the national team players. That's just not really the culture around USA volleyball really yet.
Yeah, everyone just cares about playing.
But I think they're pushing that now, and it's easier to do that with pro leagues in the country. So I would hope for that. But and this is just like the one last thing is I think it's so interesting that the men's program is able to do this right now, where they bring a lot of young talent from college, right? And we've seen it firsthand. Cole Hartke putting on an absolute show.
God.
And I know we're talking about this is a women's episode, but I'm just saying, right? Like the level of talent, I'm not sure if we really are going to be able to see that yet for U.S. college kids to do that yet. But I think it's something to think about to maybe
we'll never know if Olivia Babcock could be doing that this year. Who knows?
Damn. You knew where I was getting at.
Saying.
I'm just saying, man. Yeah. Let her play a game. Maybe she pops up. It could be great. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Who knows? But it's gonna be tough. We'll see as things move on, especially as the pro leagues develop, as maybe some new entrepreneurs hit up the U.S. volleyball scene, how everything develops just for youth volleyball, women's volleyball in general, because there's still a lot of room to grow.
There's a lot of new teams, a lot of expansion.
Yeah, I think this year is going to be really, really key to all of our leagues just to see what happens. But I think for now, we'll wrap it up because we got a little bit sidetracked at the end there.
We got excited, okay? We got excited about USA volleyball.
Yeah,
we're on an up. We're 7-1. We're at the top of the standings, okay?
We did have a really good week.
Let us have some fun about talking about USA volleyball.
Yep, but that'll do it for today's episode. If you made it this far, please like, comment, and subscribe in the comments, I think. kind of just let us know what team you think is a fraud in the VNL. Who is on your fraud watch? Who is not as good as you think everyone else believes they are?
Who are you hate watching?
Yeah, because hey, for me, I have Japan on my radar right there. That's fraud watch. Thailand is the real fun Asian team to watch for ball knowers. So that's my, a little bit of a hot take. But for you guys, let us know in the comments because I know hate watching teams is kind of fun.
And then, of course, let us know who you think was your MVP. I think we were kind of consensus Jordan Thompson, but
I picked Jordan Poulter.
Oh, yeah, you did. But, it is up for discussion, right? We talked about our two players. We mentioned Logan Eggleston as well. There's a lot of really great players this week.
Giacca, Dana.
Yes, a lot of great players. And then again, please let us know if you guys want us to talk about other teams. We're definitely open to it. We, of course, are going to talk about the U.S. for the most part, but we definitely want to talk about the other teams because we are watching some of these games when we can. So we're definitely open to it.
Yeah, one last thing. This week was the hardest one for U.S. fans to watch because, oh my God, the scheduling. Everything was literally in Asia.
It's not possible.
It was all at night. It was so hard to watch. Oh, I was staying up so late to just watch random U.S. games, and I was dying. Jesus Christ.
Well, it's going to be in Japan. It's not getting better.
Yeah, but at least they'll spread it out a little bit more moving forward. But yeah, just had to put that one out there. This is a tough week. But for now, thank you again for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.